Greetings, everybody. Welcome to our look at Overlord Jayden. I will get that name right. There are too many Jaydens in the game already, but here we go. Here is number 20? Okay, that's slight exaggeration. Either way, this character is going to be coming out on Global very soon, so I did want to get this video out talking about my thoughts and JP's early impressions. And they are early at this point because he hasn't been around that long. And I don't think most people have resources to get this guy, but whales, they're gonna win. So taking a look at the new UI here, Jayden, this version of Jayden now comes with the commander ability. Clicking this button on the preview character in the gotcha screen will tell you what the character can do and what modes they can do it for. Jayden is specifically for duels, so if you're looking for something for quests or something for Guild War, well, you're going to have to wait for another character in the future. Basically, the commander abilities look essentially like a upped version of a Hollow Vision card's bonuses. However, with the thing now of, do you use the character in the party because they're strong, or do you use them as a commander for the ability? Ice characters will get magic of 20% and chain resistance of 20. These weapon types will get accuracy and healing power up. And last but not least, those weapon types will also get a HP restore one time, as well as canceling out one of certain status effects, including paralysis, stop, and don't act. It's a neat dichotomy of how you use a character in Wotv, and given that this is a strategy-based game, I think that generally commander abilities are fine. If you look at like what you are essentially getting here, sure, you're getting a strong new character, but I mean, it is only essentially useful. This is only useful in one thing, and for the most part, it's not going to make that big of a difference since it's very limited at the moment. So I'm not too terribly worried about or angry about commander abilities because we've seen this before with Hollow Vision cards. Most people just keep playing the game, getting stuff at a steady rate or a reduced rate compared to whales, and whales, top guild, they are already so far out of reach of most players' abilities that I don't think it matters here. So moving on, it's fine. Not great, but fine. Jayden himself does seem to be quite good. He is a magic-based ice attacker at 100 cost, which does mean that, you are looking at the 100 cost rates, and maybe you'll just be lucky and get him off the first pull or the tickets. But if that's the case, congratulations. The rest of us probably not so lucky. All right, jumping into party-based content and discussion. With Jayden, I think that we do have a really good point of reference here for Jayden versus other characters because Gilgamesh is a fantastic ice-based character. Looking at him in a same elemental party state, which I think is pretty fair, minus the Trust Mastery runes, we can see that Gilgamesh is sporting about 1700 magic, some defense spirit, single target AoE resistance, and speed. Jayden here with the Hermes sandal, which we kind of have to ignore, 117 speed, so lower, but again, not the biggest problem for a gunner who we essentially want in the back. As for HP and magic attack, I think they're relatively good. They're better than Yuna at least seem to be. However, different elements, different vision cards in these party mixes. I think that I'm pretty impressed with Jayden's stats, and I think he looks generally pretty good here. Also, taking a look at resistances, again, pretty nice for what the setup essentially has. As for the character's resistances in this party, well, he still has a problem with Pierce, so that's at least canonically correct, and people are going to get a chuckle out of that, so that's fine. As for status effect resistances, sleep, don't move, don't act, which honestly, don't act is probably pretty worthless given this character, but nice to have, I guess, but could have been a better status effect. Looking at equipment really quickly, just want to talk about first off this. The new gun is a magic-based gun. It's pretty nice looking already, but it doesn't work for just Jayden, it works for other characters too. So other magic-based characters are going to be happy to have a new upgraded gun, including Light Veritas, who I think is going to be very happy to see that kind of new weapon available for her. because it also has single target resistance penetration and AoE resistance on it, which, again, very nice. Last but not least, Trust Mastery for equipment here, without talking about the VC, which I fully expect the VC to be an Esper VC with a CG animation, which will be a big boost for Jayden's abilities and strength in the coming short period of time. This is essentially Bells 2.0, which we have said that a few times in the history, but this essentially just straight is. I mean, it's 25% for 4 turns AP generation, and it's an accessory. It ticks all the boxes. It also has accuracy up and speed up on it, which are both really nice to have. And as a bonus, it does cancel out HP absorption, but here's the problem. A lot of characters' HP absorption is actually undispellable, which means that this only works about 50% of the time, maybe, on certain characters, so it is really just bells and not much else. Now, having talked about all of that, the potential of what the vision card will be, which will probably be a very strong vision card because it's anniversary time. Here's my comment about JP's early rankings. Both Ultima and Game 8 have ranked him as very high, 9.8 from Ultima, and for Game 8, Game 8 has provisionally put him at double S. Double S being where most new characters end up. Yuna, Riku, and Pain all ended up at double S upon their initial release. And since then, Riku has been upgraded to triple S, the highest tier that Game 8 gives, and I have to agree with that. Riku is bloody everywhere right now. I think Jayden's usefulness, whether or not he can deal with a lot of the accuracy issues that most teams are facing, will probably be a big determination of where he how powerful he is. But since VC is still a consideration, we're going to have to wait a little bit to get the full detailing. But given that he's already double S, that does bode pretty well for him potentially being triple S in the ranking sphere. Alright, now talking about this character's build. Now, honestly, I think that overall, we have to look at all of his skills to really determine the build. But, you know, starting off really quickly, that a magic-based Esper or potentially his new Esper will probably be better. And whatever the new VC as well will probably overall be better for him. But again, let's get into skills really quickly. So talking about skills, first off, his primary one is always going to be used. There's no reason not to. It's increased accuracy of 25, spirit penetration of 40, range +2, physical damage based resistance from 4 to 7, as well as reducing physical and magical damage taken by 40% for self after, and only being removed after he has taken 3 hits. There's a lot packed into this single support skill, so you're always going to be running it because you always want higher range. 2 is a big increase of range. Spirit penetration means more damage. Accuracy here is just good for dealing with what is currently going on in JP. And there's a bunch of damage resistance built into here too, which means that Jayden has a very good chance of surviving a bunch of hits, more than a lot of other characters do. As for the other skill, it's tough to say. This one, I think, maybe is replaceable. 24% magic boost and reaction block rate. I mean, you could potentially go with the Christmas Wrath's abilities, which is essentially either a single target resistance of 12 and agility of 12%. Agility is usually pretty nice. Or there's magic of 24% with decreasing skill activation time. Taking a look at Jayden's kit, there is no casting time on his abilities, so that casting time only is useful for Xmas Wrath's abilities, which, well, I guess we'll have to decide if that's worth it or not. As for Spellblade, it's magic resistance and wind resistance, so probably his 2 main ones are the best, but let's talk about subjobs, since that will determine what our supports are. So the two that you are giving up is this one, decreasing CT by 25 for targets and decreasing chain resistance for 3 turns. There is no damage on this ability, so it's essentially a speed debuff, which is pretty nice, but most of the time, is it going to be useful? Maybe. I mean, maybe you do use it, but at high range, if you're pushing the opponent back, maybe does give them more time to do supports if they are kind of slower. I don't know. I'm not sure if I super like this ability, but I can see places where it would be good. This one is just a 3-hitter with damage on it. It's fine. I don't think it's anything really remarkable, so you could replace this for different subjobs. Spellblade, for example, does have poison, inflicting wind killer, and increased chance of being targeted, which all feels pretty not very good. The only thing I could really see you wanting from Spellblade is reducing magical damage taken, but Jayden will probably have higher priorities for supports, so that just probably won't be triggered that much. Taking a look at Xmas Rafts, that's a little bit better. Increasing magic by 40% for 3 turns, agility by 25% for 3 turns, reducing physical and magical damage taken the larger the AoE size, is all looking just like a way better support than anything that Spellblade generally has. Also, it has better range on most of its abilities, reducing counter chance, restoring HP for allies, and increasing resistances for slash and magic by 25% is still very useful where we are. It can inflict stop, since Jayden is going to have high faith. Not unlikely that it could happen. Or immobilize, and you can decrease single target resistance, which is actually decent for pairing up with certain other characters, including Jayden himself. So Xmas Raft's ability, in my opinion, is kind of looking like just the best sub-job here. Yes, 2 of them do have casting time. However, there is ways of mitigating that. And if nothing else, the support is kind of just nice for Jayden alone, and I don't think he would say no to that. But there are cases for all 3, but I think the Xmas Raft is my all-time favorite. Now, that does put into options here. I do think that the speed is always going to be one of the highest considerations, so that's probably the one you're going to run. Giving a little extra single target resistance isn't bad either. It's a pretty good deal because you're not just getting speed, you're getting speed plus something else. As for increasing the magic and decreasing the skill activation time, sure, but probably not super necessary. So I could see this as being a little bit different from the friend build where you're sacrificing some magic for some speed, because speed is effectively still king. Or Overlord? Talking about the counter ability here, his counter is pretty nice. It has pretty high range on it, and if I am reading this correctly, now it's not loading, thank you, its range can be buffed. So think about this. This is already the initial range for this. You can increase this range by 2, or, as we're about to get in this kit, by even more. Now, this is really interesting of an ability because counters slasher magic, that's the majority of the meta, with a 121 mod, that's pretty standard, but also has a 100% chance of knockback by 2 squares. We haven't particularly seen this in Wotv, and this isn't as relevant as something like Swords of Kambaldria, where you can knock a character off something and it instantly kills them. But this is a spacing related thing, not only for him, but for other characters too. It does need to activate in a straight line, so it does have its own weaknesses, but I think that this is quite an unique ability for Jayden, and could be interesting in the long run of the game. Now, talking about the main part of his kit, basic one, damage and decreased missile resistance, which is actually really nice because 25%, and Jayden will have synergy with other gunners, including Yuna, who is actually quite powerful still. Here, this big wall of text ability gives him auto revive and increase physical distance based resistance by 3 to 7. If he has re-raise, auto restore by 20 if he has re-raise, and grants the following effect of dispelling: ignore fatal damage for 4 turns if the target has, or if he has re-raise. So there's a bunch of stuff that he can do on this ability. It's only for him, but it gives him some AP, it gives him auto revive, and it gives him dispelling ignore fatal damage, which is really good and actually could be nice support for certain elements and certain other characters who have trouble getting over it, because Jayden can essentially just shoot them from long range, get rid of it before the opponent gets a chance to do anything else. Next ability, inflict slow, decrease move, 165 mod. Very good for Jayden, who has incredibly long range and can get this ability off and potentially even hit multiple characters. You're not interested in damage here, you're interested in slowing your opponent down, keeping them away from you, and allowing Jayden to really wreak havoc from a distance. This support ability, wind resistance 20%, grants the effect for allies of decreasing single target resistance by 15 for 4 turns, decrease move, and increases range for himself. This is the piece of the puzzle that I think people were missing. It's essentially Alaya's ability, which is normally just baked into that character. Here you do need to cast it. The wind resistance is whatever. The single target resistance is quite nice, especially in combination with earth characters who are doing single target damage too. And there are at least a few of them, because some of them have shred already, but decreasing by an extra 15, you wouldn't say no to that. Decreasing move, however, makes Jayden way more effective at staying back and out of damage, and increasing range by another 2 for 4 turns is scary, because in combination with the range that you're already seeing on the majority of Jayden's abilities that we are about to look at, including his counter, that is 2 plus 2, which is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. Sorry, my brain went into thinking about a TV show. So essentially, if you're looking at an ability like this, decreasing CD and speed, increase this's range by 4, and then you have an idea of how far away you are able to hit your opponent. This ability, single target, is select up to 2, is increased in range. It's piercing damage already, which is quite nasty, but at a 200% mod, double hits. It is going to be a scary ability for people to go up against, as it's already going to be dealing a bunch of damage, but it does trigger the HP heal and CT restore, which is quite nice for just effectively making sure that you're helping out potentially your characters and boosting their speed. Nothing to complain about, I think, really. Last but not least is job level 25 ability. No, never mind. I did it right. Sorry, I was reading across upgrades. This one is upgraded as well. It dispels shell, which is important for a magic damage dealer, and synergy with Gilgamesh, who he can support now. Also, you can select up to 2 targets. Dispel shell increases magic by 80% for 1 turn, and a 165 mod. Now, what's really interesting about this ability is that it is not line of sight. A lot of Jayden's abilities are line of sight. This one does travel in an arc, which means you're okay to cast it on a ton of different maps, and it's constantly useful, and it's constantly doing a lot of things. I think that this ability is really, really, really nice for getting around one of the problems. If you look at the description here, it also apparently has something that is not included on Wotv calc, which is that if the number of actions by the user is a multiple of 3, user's magic power is greatly increased. So that 80% increase is conditional, which doesn't seem to be on Wotv calc. That's nothing bad about Wotv, it's just a parsing issue for that kind of stuff. Honestly, I think that Jayden is really, really powerful looking. Not even as an Overlord unit, but just as a range unit. He has high range, he has decreased movement, he has damage abilities with piercing damage, so he can get through a lot of characters' defense, but he also has a fair amount of support for himself and other characters by hitting characters from a long distance. And he does have some things that are generally pretty nice of getting around problems that gunners have. Yuno is already pretty good, and I think this character looks essentially better, and can only get better when we see what the next VC is. In combination with Yuna, in combination with any other character from Ice, Earth, or Water, I think that we are looking at a ton of potential here. And oh yeah, wait, doesn't Earth have a really, really strong character right now? Well, yeah, Riku. That will probably be a generally very strong ticket. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And because I did go over 20 minutes, I do owe a little bit of extra entertainment, I guess. Here you go. Here's a poll. I did 1,000 poll last night and got Helena. So that's apparently telling me to get on my get on it and do my Master Quest 3 video. But why not? It's anniversary. Here you go. Nope. A nope? A rainbow would be cool, because that would be a rainbow at the top. C'est la vie. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Best of luck if you are doing polls for this character. Hopefully it goes well for you. 10-2 will probably still be a strong consideration for most people. But as for me, I will be doing the testing video right away here, and it will hopefully be uploaded very shortly. Later.